Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clarke on YouTube. Oh no. Thank you guys so much for having made this your favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel of all time. I say this because I have never felt more honored to join you to have these wonderful conversations over at least the last 10 years. And what an incredible 10-year journey we've all been on as fans of Descendants of Zombies. I feel like I've been on my way to Oregon and Seabrook for what feels like forever, and along the way I've met so many incredible people who couldn't help but feel inspired by these beautiful stories and their beautiful characters. No matter if we're talking about Zed and Addison, Victor and Nova, Red and Chloe, so many beautiful stories have been told through these characters and shared through the years. And it's been an incredible 10 years that I will never ever forget, because I got to share in it with each and every one of you. If you are somebody who is watching a Jonathan Clarke on YouTube video for the first time ever, hi, welcome in. It is my honor to join you for these conversations, as I have for the better part of the last 10 years. Because if I could create content on anything that would resonate with your heart, it would have to have been Descendants of Zombies. And over the last year more especially, over thousands of people have obviously saw something special in this YouTube channel for the way I've told this story. Because it's not just about telling people how much you love Descendants of Zombies, it's always about how you tell and perceive a story. Because each time that you tell it, you can tell it differently. And you can take away a greater appreciation for the characters that are involved in these stories. Because even with how many characters we have seen become involved in these stories, there are still so many characters who have yet to see their introduction into the Descendants of Zombies franchises, and characters that I'm incredibly excited to meet. There are a lot of rumors about who we could be meeting and setting up to meet in Zombies 5. Reportedly, there's a character named Pearl. She's going to be one of the mermaids. She's going to be one of the lead mermaids in this movie. And because I felt so intrigued and so inspired to hear stories about mermaids, pirates, witches, the whole shebang over the last at least 30 years, because you had better believe that I've been around a long time. And I read some of the most beautiful novels ever comprised with mermaid tales seen and heard in them. And each time that I've read and seen these stories, I've taken away a greater appreciation for it. And I've lived here on this island for forever, which there are only two ways off of, by boat that could sink, crash, and explode, or by plane that could sink, crash, and explode. Either way, you'll meet your doom, Indiana Jones, Tom Cruise-like, but I've loved living here on this island. Oftentimes when I record videos in the nighttime, you guys can hear wind blowing in the background, a lot of spooky noises. This is actually one of the most haunted places in the world, so it provides a perfect opportunity to tell the story of zombies time and time again. Because I live 5 minutes away from a haunted graveyard, I previously worked at Five Nights at Freddy's, because I can never seem to become a full-time YouTube creator, which you guys could really help me out with, because for every single girl that subscribes to this YouTube channel who may be a fan of Descendants of Zombies, you help support the cause. And then I can send in my resignation to Five Nights at Freddy's, sit at home, become full-time YouTube creator, eat a lot of popcorn with cheese, and we can have a whole lot of fun. But it cannot happen until you hit the subscribe button and get me out of Five Nights at Freddy's. Because guys, working at Five Nights at Freddy's part-time, I mean, let's cut to the chase. Working at Five Nights at Freddy's part-time isn't the best job or the greatest experience. They don't even give you a security shirt with security marked on the back of it. I see these guys working at the mall and the arena all the time with these security shirts with security marked on the back of it so nicely. And I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's has never really treated me that great. And once you see Freddy Fazbear and Chico and this or that coming at you for no crazy reason, it never gets easy. So if you guys could help out the cause by hitting the subscribe button, I would be more than appreciative of it, because I've had a wonderful time sharing these stories with each and every one of you about how I always wanted to be a part of the Descendants of Zombies productions and take myself up in the opportunity to jump inside of a vortex or jump down through a rabbit hole. I would love the opportunity to dig up a rabbit hole in my backyard and, come to think of it, jump down through it. Because then I would finally realize my dream of meeting people like Alice and the Mad Hatter and the Cherokee Cat and all the teacups and go for a ride in a teacup. I was always wanting to take myself up in the opportunity to do that. I would love to be in that scene where, of course, Rita Ora, the Queen of Hearts, and her daughter Red were driving through Oregon through a rabbit hole in that side-by-side. Because over the years, I've had the opportunity to go on a lot of side-by-side journeys with my friends. I can't say they were most enjoyable because they would go really high up. They would become really elevated on hills and stuff. And it is the scariest thing ever. But when it comes to driving a side-by-side through the Descendants franchise, look no further than Jonathan Clarke, because Jonathan Clarke always wanted to do his own stunts and stuff like that, and I always thought it would be cool. You know, I would also do the green screen stuff, don't get me wrong, But I think that having the opportunity to take the chance on doing your own stunts, that would be so cool. And you're thinking to yourself, hey, Jonathan Clarke, don't you realize that you could be killed doing your own stunts? I do realize that, but I think that when you do your own stunts, you take away a greater appreciation for the effort that has to go into doing your own stunts. It's one thing to sit in front of a green screen and, lie on the floor and do the motions, but when you have the opportunity to do your own stunts, that would be so cool. Like Dwayne Johnson, And you're saying to yourself, hey, Jonathan Clarke, have you ever thought about how Dwayne Johnson probably never does his own stunts? They just make him look so strong and so confident in these movies because that's the way it's supposed to be. Well, come to think of it, I've never really thought of it that way. And while he may do his own stunts, I think Jonathan Clarke jumping out of an airplane, Mr. Beast-like, would allow Jonathan Clarke to go on to get over 458 million subscribers on YouTube. And you're saying to yourself, hey, Jonathan Clarke, you're calling YouTube. That's the coolest thing ever. I'm just saying, man, I just love to jump out of an airplane and do my own stunts to bring, something like Descendants of Zombies more to life and showcase a greater appreciation. One thing that I would definitely do if I was the writer and producer behind Descendants of Zombies is showcase Clarke and Malia Baker for the stars they truly are. I would definitely make their lives a whole lot better. Their experience being a part of the Descendants of Zombies franchise, so much more fun. Let me put it to you this way. If Quality Control's sink wasn't working in her house, she'd have somebody there in 5 minutes to fix it. She would have a bigger house. She would have one of those 75-inch plasma TVs in her living room because I got to do something about that small TV that she has. I got a lot of stuff to do. I got to make Ruby Rose Turner come back to play Bridget again in the Descendants franchise because, as many of you know, I've missed Ruby Rose Turner with all of my heart, and I've always believed her story is anything but having been told and completed because every character in the Descendants franchise, I think we've all taken away something special from them. And they've all been our favorites for the obvious reasons. They are incredibly beautiful. Their costumes are outstanding and truly breathtaking. Their stories were stories that we could hear and share in time and time again. How many of you have slumber parties or say for your birthday party you all get together and you watch the entire Descendants trilogy? Years ago, I never had anything like that to watch. I just had the original Disney classics because I grew up in a generation that is very different from this one. And, being a guy, it was really hard to get one of your guy friends to come over. Like, I'd call them up and I'd say, hey, man, you want to watch Toy Story together? And he'd be like, Toy Story? Are you out of your mind? And probably hang up on me halfway through. But at least now you guys in this generation have so many cool things to be enjoyed over, like Descendants and Zombies, and you have the opportunity to hang out with each other, get to know each other for the fans of Descendants and Zombies you are. And that's why I've grown particularly fond of this kind of thing. Because in this generation, more people are becoming friends over Descendants and Zombies, and that's what makes my job as a YouTuber worth it every single time. Because I know that, as the old saying goes, everybody in YouTube is a critic, and nobody really wants to ever believe in supernatural. I've been living in a haunted house for over 30 years, and to be honest with each and every one of you, living in a haunted house is kind of really cool. You experience a lot, and you believe in the supernatural more than perhaps ever before. Kind of like those two guys in that Goosebumps series on Disney+. The series may have only lasted like 2 years, but they lived in a haunted house, and the entire series was themed around these two kids living inside of a haunted house. It was a very different take on the Goosebumps that I remember, because growing up when I was a kid, you would have 62 Goosebumps books that you would do more than anything else in the world to collect. And when you eventually got all 62 Goosebumps books, it was kind of like, woohoo! And like when you have all the novels in the Descendants franchise, it's like more like a yes kind of moment, I see so much of myself. The reason why I have so much fun creating these videos about Descendants of Zombies is I've seen so much of myself in you guys. Your passion for Disney, your passion for these characters, how much you love drawing your favorite characters, wearing the costumes on Halloween, collecting the dolls and all the merch that comes with it. I've seen so much of myself in you guys. I know I've been around for a very long time, and I've told this story very differently from every other YouTube creator that you guys have seen. But you know why everybody loves this YouTube channel so much? It's because of how differently I've told this story and I've perceived it. Because just as much of a chance that nobody ever wanted to give Malia Baker, I did, because Malia Baker starred in one of my favorite kids' TV shows that was recently rebooted. It was called Are You Afraid of the Dark? And The Babysitter's Club. But when I saw her in Are You Afraid of the Dark, it brought me back to October 31st, 1990. What happened on October 31st, 1990? Well, it was Halloween, and on that night I saw the original premiere of the Are You Afraid of the Dark series, produced by DJ McHale. And I remember how much of a fan I was of the Are You Afraid of the Dark TV series. I had the board game, I had the t-shirts, I had every piece of merch that Nickelodeon, which was very limited, had released for that TV series. I will never forget the first episode of it, The Tale of the Phantom Cab. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. I call this tale the Phantom Cab. And they would throw this explosive dust on the fire, everything would explode, and then the story would begin. It was very different being a fan of Are You Afraid of the Dark years ago than what it is today, because the story just pretty much focused on the Midnight Society. But Malia Baker's contributions to this story, telling stories about legendary characters such as Mr. Sardo and the Carnival of Doom, Mr. Top Hat, I found time in appreciating that, because I always wanted to have something to do with these franchises because I drew so much inspiration from them. While I may have thought that everything that I saw on TV was real, I took away so much inspiration every single time that I watched it from these franchises. And I am still just as big a fan of what you guys watch today, like SpongeBob SquarePants and your version of Goosebumps and your version of the Power Rangers, which there are so many different adaptations I've seen over the years. And this new series, Wizards Beyond Waverly Place, which Freya Sky starred in, which I was incredibly supportive of. Just because I was a fan of a certain generation and grew up in a certain generation doesn't mean that I can't have the chance to create relatable content for understanding you, for the fans that you are. You know, I'm always researching stuff that you like. I'm always wanting to put my heart into every bit of content that I create about stuff that you guys love, because everybody's a fan of something. I don't care who you are. I know I have fans of Phineas and Ferb, Tangled. Shout out to you guys. I've loved talking about Tangled. You know, Rapunzel was one of my favorite Disney princesses of all time. And it's beyond me why she has not become a part of the Descendants franchise. What's wrong with Disney, I really don't know. But when you talk about a character like Ruby Rose Turner, with how much of her heart she's put into wanting to play Rapunzel, don't you think we can at least give Ruby Rose Turner at least one chance to play Rapunzel and see what she can do with it? I think that Ruby would really run away with it. And you're saying to yourself, hey, Jonathan Clarke, man, you really do have the biggest crush in the world on Ruby Rose Turner, don't you? Yeah, I think the first star I would call, if I was the director of Descendants, would be Ruby Rose Turner. And I'd say, Ruby, man, I miss you being a part of the Descendants franchise. I know more people miss you being a part of the Descendants franchise. So what have I got to do? How much have I got to pay you? What have I got to do to make you happy so you'll come back? Because it's not ever been about me and wanting Ruby to be a part of the franchise. It's been all about how I believed her story was never told and completed. And I know how much she's meant to each and every one of you, because I know I'm not the only one who missed her being a part of the Worlds Collide tour. I say this because just because time travel was taken out of Descendants doesn't mean that Ruby can't have some involvement in it, even in present-day Wonderland. I mean, how many times have you seen the Jetsons go back in time? I mean, I've been watching the Jetsons go back in time since 1968, and that wasn't yesterday. I remember watching the original Jetsons TV series. All of them were a part of it. George Jetson, Leroy, Judy, Astro. Come to think of it, I always wanted my own space dog. I've always had dogs, but I've never had the opportunity to have my own space dog. But I would always see the Jetsons, stop laughing, I would always see the Jetsons go back in time. Can you imagine having a dog like Astro with pointy ears that was a space dog that could jump really high and through your window kind of stuff? Man, think about the damage deposits you guys would have on your houses. And I didn't want to begin to think about that, but it would be so cool. I would love to see more opportunities for time travel to be brought back into scripts. I've always had a greater appreciation for this. Actually, they just had the 30th anniversary celebration of Back to the Future go down, and I remember being a huge fan of that. I remember how Christopher Lloyd, who is an actor that many of you are too young to remember, would be in shows like Are You Afraid of the Dark and Dennis the Menace, and of course Back to the Future, and how much of a contribution they made to that, and how much of an emphasis of time travel was put on that. Another movie that I really liked was The Time Traveler's Wife. But no matter how complicated time travel is, point being, there is always a way to bring a character back into a franchise. So if you are somebody who has always and forever believed that Ruby's time could never be over with the Descendants franchise and maybe have a chance of continuing, then perhaps you should continue to believe that. Because I've never wanted to take away a hope or a dream from everybody who may have watched this channel. I've been the biggest fan of Ruby Rose Turner ever since Ruby was 12 years old, and I thought Ruby was incredibly courageous. She never cared what anybody thought about her. She may have wondered what people thought about her while reading them through comments on her official social accounts. But I think that Ruby demonstrated so much courage with everything that she had to deal with, what she was battling with, because everybody is far from perfect, and everybody has their time where they're doubting themselves. You know, I know for a fact that people like Ruby have doubted themselves and wondered if they are good enough. And I don't think that is completely necessary. And that's why I wanted to create this YouTube channel, to give something back to your favorite Descendants of Zombie stars. Because if I was going to be a part of any conversations having anything to do with them, it was going to have to be something nice. All I've ever wanted to do is give back to the Descendants of Zombies community and tell you my story about how I may have been a fan of Dove Cameron, how I loved Sophia Carson with all of my heart. Sophia Carson is somebody who I can never seem to say enough nice things about because of how incredibly beautiful she is. And I know many of you who have subscribed to this YouTube channel think the same thing and feel the same way about Sophia Carson. How many of you out there miss Sophia Carson's contributions to the Descendants franchise? If the answer is yes, then I think you should subscribe here to this YouTube channel, because many of you have your YouTube channels themed around Sophia Carson. And I think that is a really beautiful contribution to her career, and it lets her know how much you guys feel about her and how she holds a very special place in her heart, as she does mine. She will forever hold a special place in my heart. You know, I've had this conversation with so many people over the phone and day to day about Sophia Carson and her contributions to the Descendants franchise. Maybe it has something to do with how I'm a really genuine guy, and I think that the contributions of whatever star we're talking about, even Brenda D'Amico, who went through her own trials and tribulations, should never ever be forgotten. Just know that you guys and these stars will forever and always hold a special place in my heart. I think they are incredibly dedicated with so much heart and love and passion for this franchise. They obviously believe in it with all of their heart, because they know that without Descendants, they probably would have never had the chance to make names for themselves. They probably still be trying to record independent albums from their basement. And now, because of the doors that Descendants of Zombies have opened up for them, they are seizing these opportunities. And that's what's so incredibly beautiful about all the heart they put into everything they believed in. From my heart to yours, thank you so much for having made this your favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel of all time. I truly do put my heart into every video out there, because I do know that somewhere out there in this really big universe, there is somebody who loves Descendants of Zombies, who may be watching this video, who loves Descendants of Zombies with all of her heart. And that's why every single day I take so much time out of my day to my daily excursions and plans to record content that relates to fans of Descendants of Zombies in some way or somehow, never seems to fail in touching their heart. I love each and every one of you, man, for being with me from the very beginning, because I don't know where I would be. I know for sure I wouldn't have a YouTube channel without each and every one of you, and how much you have believed in the message of this YouTube channel, and how much you have believed in me. Because I know that everybody is a critic on YouTube, and everybody feels differently about Descendants, and they have this unknown desire without any explanation to tell you how they truly feel about Descendants of Zombies. But know this: because you guys have allowed me to be a part of your world, and to be on your journey with you, and to have experienced this journey for what it was worth, I will never forget any of you. I love you all from the bottom of my heart, and I know that I would not be here with over almost 4,000 people having subscribed to this YouTube channel without your dedication to what you believe in. Thank you so much for always and forever having a special place in your heart for how I felt about Descendants of Zombies through the years, and I will continue to feel for many years to come, because this story has never had to be over. It was never meant to be over. I know that a lot of people feel they need to stop making Descendants of Zombies movies and stop expanding the franchise, but with so much of a supernatural lore and so much of a history behind these characters such as Alice in Wonderland and Cinderella, can't you believe that we just can keep this story going for just a little while longer? And it's a story, to be honest with each and every one of you, that I've never felt more incredibly excited or never felt more honored to be a part of and share in with each and every one of you. So if you are somebody who is watching a Jonathan Clarke YouTube video for the first time ever and you have yet to subscribe, hopefully I presented a case in point and given you a reason to hit my subscribe button so I can go on to achieve my dream of having more subscribers than Mr. Beast and the Disney Company. And then we can have many more of these conversations where this one came from. And you're saying to yourself, have more subscribers than Mr. Beast. Do you realize he has more subscribers than anybody else in the world? Something like 458 million subscribers, Jonathan? Man, you can't blame a guy for at least trying to create relatable content for everybody, just hoping, having a dream that everybody's going to subscribe to his YouTube channel. let's talk more about Descendants of Zombies in that unforeseeable future, because it's a good one. And really, it's a future that I'm incredibly excited to be a part of with each and every one of you. Thank you so much for having made this your favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel of all time. It has been my honor, and I look forward to sharing in and having many more of these conversations with each and every one of you. Thank you so much for having made this your favorite Descendants of Zombies YouTube channel of all time, and from my heart to yours, thank you so much for having watched this video. I will return just after sunset with a brand new video for you guys, where we once again open up the book of Descendants of Zombies, never having wanted to close it, and continue this story, picking it up right from where we left it off. Thank you so much for having watched this video.